Check. Check. Good morning. How's everyone doing today? Yes. Hey, my name is Tyler. Welcome. Also, welcome to our crowd who's on YouTube, hanging out with us online. We're so glad that you guys are here as well. We are talking about anger today, and I'm super excited because I get angry really easily. I actually was really struggling with how in the world do I start off talking about anger. So I compiled a list of just, everyday things that make me angry, and it was too long to share with you. It was like 200 things long. You'll get to know me. I know you will. And things just that should not make me angry do. They should annoy me. They should not make me angry. I'll put it that way. But here's 6 of the things, everyday things that I think are, dumb. So here we go. Ready? Number 1. Sitting down on the toilet and the roll is empty. The roll is empty. It's the worst. Like, what do you expect me to do? Just take a shower and just let the shower get everything off? That's gross. I'm not going to do that. Number 2, as soon as I sit down on the couch or like laying in bed and someone's like, hey, can you do this for me? As soon as I sit down, drives me crazy. Drives me nuts. It got to the point where with my 2 kids and my wife at home, I literally have had to start announcing, like, all right, everybody, I am going to be going to bed now. I am going to bed for the last time. If anyone needs anything, I am happy to help. I'll get water. I'll do whatever I need to do for anyone who wants it. But once I'm down, I'm down. That's fair, right? I give a clear warning and I'm willing to serve. So I get down to, my kids like, Dad, can you come tuck me in? No. I'm in bed. I gave you a warning. Just kidding. Well, I probably still would say no. But all right. Number 3, when I really want a bag of chips, and for me, it's either the jalapeno Cheetos or the Cool Ranch Doritos, and I get too excited and I tear the bag open and it splits down the side. It's the worst. I mean, you can still eat the chips, but they go stale really quickly. And then you have to eat it all in one sitting because you don't want to waste food, right? So it just makes me eat all the food in one sitting. So that makes me mad. No. All right. Number 4, this one I have to explain a little bit. I really do enjoy oatmeal raisin cookies. I really do. Stop it. I like them. However, if I think it's a chocolate chip cookie and I eat it, then I get angry. Like if someone were to say to me, hey, do you want an oatmeal raisin cookie? Yes, I would love one. Thank you. Eat it. Everyone's happy. But if I go and there's a tray of cookies and I think it's chocolate chip and I bite into it, super mad. Like, how hard is it to label something, right? Just oatmeal raisin cookie? Come on. Okay. That's it. All right. Number 5. There's 2 more. Number 5. When I take my first bite into a hard shell taco and it breaks. I did not order nachos. I wanted a taco. And yet I took one bite and it has become nachos. Dumb. I do like soft shell, but every now and then I want the crunch of a taco, All right, number 6. And this, I will say, if I am ever running for president of the United States, I know for a fact I would get all your votes, right? This would be my one platform. Hey, what's your foreign policy? I don't know, but if you're in line at a Starbucks or a fast food place or anything, and you get to the front and you don't know what you want yet, you are legally allowed to get shoved out of the way. You've had time to decide what you wanted in line. If you don't know what you want at the counter, you're gone. Get out of the way. Yeah, so there you go. Those are the things, everyday things that make me more angry than they should. And maybe for you, you don't relate to any of those. Maybe you're super chill. Maybe you were like, oh yes, to all 6 of these things, but maybe for you, it's not like that. Maybe like for you, it's video games. I used to play a game called Halo, and whenever you would die, you would respawn, and I would like get killed immediately when I respawned. Drove me nuts. Maybe for you, it's you've like lost the big game for your team because the ref made a bad call. Maybe for you, you found out that one of your friends was talking about you behind their back. Maybe your parents are splitting up and you wish they had tried a little bit harder to stay together. See, there are things that we can be angry about that are actually justified, and things that maybe we can handle a little bit differently. See, not all anger is bad, right? Not all anger is bad. There are things in this world that are unjust. There are things that we see happening to people that they don't deserve, or there are things that people do deserve that they don't get, and we want someone to fix it. We want someone to speak out against it. We want someone to do something about it. That's a good anger. But how we display that anger is actually what can get us into a lot of trouble. Anger itself is not really a bad thing. Instead, how we display it and how we show it, that's what could be bad. And there are 2 ways that we really process and we show anger. There's things that we do externally that the world just kind of knows that we're angry when we do these things. And there's internally. And to show this, I'm going to show you just some art that belongs in like the Guggenheim Museum. All right. This is me. This is me. And if you don't know, you couldn't tell, I'm literally wearing the same shirt. So I drew it today. But there are things that are external. What I mean by external is that when you get angry over something, you show it. Maybe you yell or you scream. They're different. Yelling is like, I'm going to raise my voice. Screaming is like, someone took the last piece of pizza and I'm going to treat it like they just killed my dog and just scream at them. That's screaming, yelling. Maybe you fight. See, how we process it externally, the world around us does not have to guess what we're feeling. We're going to let them know one way or another exactly. And maybe that's you. I have long in my life been an external like anger processor. I have yelled, screamed, I fought a lot growing up as a kid. That was me. Maybe you're like me, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're more of an internal processor. And when you get really angry, I'm going to write it inside like here, the world does not know necessarily what's going on. Maybe you shut down. Maybe you just like shut down, you isolate, which is another way to do this. Shutting down and isolating are a little bit different. You shut down, you just don't want to talk. Isolating, you cut out people from your life because they did something wrong to you and you just like shun them and you don't want anything to do with them and you isolate. Or you bottle it down inside until it becomes a legitimate issue, depression, anxiety, and no one can see that on the outside. So you have anxiety, depression, and maybe your internal like ways to show this, like maybe they're different than these 3. But we all process anger externally or internally, and how we process and how we show anger, how we feel anger, it matters. Because in my life, there have been some really key relationships I've had for the course of my life almost fall apart because of my anger. And you're getting to the age where these emotions sometimes just come bursting out of you, maybe externally, or maybe you just shut everyone off in the world and no one knows it. But we're coming to an age where this really matters, how we process what we get angry about and how we process what we do when we're angry. So I want to look at the Bible. I want to look at what are some godly ways that we can actually handle and mature in how we process and show our anger. I say godly, not just good ways, not just ways that feel good to you, but godly, because we want to be a people who start more and more and more to show with our lives that we follow Jesus. And this is one of those areas. So I'm going to turn to the book of James. James was a brother of Jesus, like legit Jesus' brother, which either could have been really awesome or really terrible. There's no middle ground when Jesus is your brother. You either get like unlimited pizza and there's like just never a last piece of pizza because he just keeps making more pizza, or it's terrible because your parents are always like, why can't you be more like Jesus? And you're like, dude, he's perfect. I can't do that. It's not all rainbows and donkey unicorn poop when you're hanging out with Jesus and you're his brother. Sometimes it's tough. But James had an inside personal look at how Jesus processed anger and how he dealt with these things. And so James is writing this letter to some Christians. He's encouraging them, hey, this is how to live out what you've learned about Jesus, is how to do it. And he says this, verses 13 through 16, chapter 3. If you are wise and understand God's ways, prove it by living an honorable life, doing good works with the humility that comes from wisdom. But if you are bitterly jealous and there is selfish ambition in your heart, don't cover up the truth with boasting and lying. For jealousy and selfishness are not God's kind of wisdom. Such things are earthly, unspiritual, even demonic. For wherever there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and evil of every kind. Let's break this down. James starts and says, hey, if you want to be wise with how you process things, you need wisdom. And so what is wisdom then? Wisdom and knowledge, like being smart, are two very different things. You can be the smartest person in the room at school and at the same time the dumbest. You can also be like the worst student in school and get all the C's, D's, and F's, but be the wisest person. They are different. Being smart and being book smart is about how well you can like take in knowledge and regurgitate it out and write it on a test and tell someone else. That's knowledge. But wisdom comes from how you deal with experiences. Being wise in how you process things does not mean you're perfect. Instead, it's, man, when we do have those moments where we mess up, we do have those times, even me, where I like blow up in my anger. It's how I learn from that and do it differently next time. See, everyone has this thing in their life called sin. Sin is like a churchy word that we mean just to say this: anything less than God's best. Anything less than God's best. And I'll be honest, sometimes how I show my emotions, how I show my anger, what I get angry at is not God's best for me. But I learn, and by experience, I do better next time. Because following Jesus is not about being perfect. It's about growing and becoming more like him every single day. But James is started by saying that we need wisdom in the way that we live. Whenever we mess up, learn from it and grow. But more importantly than that, guys, he says, if you have jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, things are going to go wrong. If that lives in your heart, on the outside, if you treat everyone around you, hey, like your best friends, nothing bothers you, but on the inside, you're harboring resentment and anger because someone else got the lead in the school play, or your friend is dating the guy or the girl that you liked, or your parents are blaming you for something that your sibling did. If we're harboring bitterness and jealousy and self-ambition in our hearts, that's what's going to come out. But if we are even teenagers, middle school students who run after Jesus, who get to know him, who spend time in the Word, who pray and actually try to become more like him, and we put Jesus in our hearts, that's what comes out. When someone does something wrong to us or terrible to us, the love of Jesus is going to come out instead of your desire to get even, which is not a godly desire. That's why anger itself isn't bad, but how we show it can be very, very bad. And James continues, chapter 4, he says this, so what is it? What is it that's causing quarrels and fights among you? Don't they come from evil desires at war within you? What's inside your heart? Do you have bitterness towards somebody? Do you have just self-ambition? You want to accomplish so much at the expense of the friends around you? Are you angry at your friend for talking about behind your back or taking the guy or the girl that you like? Or are you angry at your parents because they're blaming you for something that your sibling did. Are you mad at your sibling for ratting you out? Whatever's in our hearts, that's what will come out of our mouth. That's what the world will see. So if we have Jesus in our hearts, it's all good. And when we have Jesus in our hearts, the anger that you feel, the anger that you're like, don't know a way out from, that you feel like you have no choice but to just explode or implode, it actually does not have to be the boss of you anymore. When you follow Jesus, it gets to be the boss of you instead of the anger. So what do we do then? Like, that all sounds great. Like, okay, anger doesn't have to be the boss of me, but what do I do with this today? There are two things I think that we can do even this afternoon that will help us in processing and navigating our anger. One is take a step back. Take a step back. Is what I'm angry about, is it really, really that important? For instance, when I sit down on the toilet and there's no toilet paper there, will that matter this moment 10 years from now? No. The answer is no. If I bite into my taco, and with one bite it falls apart, in 10 years, is that going to matter? No, it's not. But when my parents divorced, when I was in high school, does that matter 10 years from now? Yeah, it does. Those are the right things to get angry about, because God in his word says he hates divorce. So yeah, that's something that's good to be angry about. Take a step back and ask yourself, man, does this really, really matter today? Second is this: be honest with how you feel with God and with others. Guys, you can do this in your room. You can talk to God. We call that prayer. Jesus does suggest a way to do that, but there's no real one way to do that. Get in your room and be honest with God and say, God, I'm just angry. I'm angry at my friends. I'm angry at my parents. I'm angry at my teacher who seems to have it out for me. I'm angry with my siblings, my neighbors, whoever it is. Tell God how you feel. And I'll be honest, this one is very difficult for me. I don't like to process things. I don't like to talk about things. I just shove it all down. It's not healthy, but I'm right there with a lot of you. And then be honest with others. Be honest with others. Your small groups are safe places to share things that you're really good at and succeeding at, but they're also great places to share what you're not so great at, where you are angry. And hopefully we have the humility and the maturity to be able to hear tough feedback. If I'm really mad about something that's causing a relationship to split apart, I need someone in my life to say, Tyler, you're being an idiot. I need that. Chances are you do too. But we need to be mature enough and humble enough to take that advice and to take that feedback. And I think that's what a lot of our culture is missing today. But we're going to go to small groups. And we're going to talk about really like how we can process this, how we can show this, how we can talk about our anger really well together. And after I pray us out, I'm going to give us some instructions on what small group looks like here. Thank you so much for joining us online. If you are on YouTube right now, this is where your part ends. We don't have small groups online now, but we'd love to see you in person at one of our campuses soon. But I want to leave you with this main point. Anger does not have to be the boss of you when Jesus is Lord of your life. When you follow Jesus and he's in your heart and the things that he gives you are in your heart, anger does not have to be the boss of you. Let's pray. God, we thank you so much for who you are, that God, you allow us to come into this place broken and sinful and sometimes very wrong with how we show and deal with our anger. But God, you love us anyway. And here's the beauty about that, God. You love us exactly where we are, but you want us to get better. You love us where we are, and you don't want us to stay there. You want us to grow and to be wise and to learn from our experiences and to stop responding to things the way we always have. That's wisdom, God. So I pray, these students and these leaders, I pray wisdom, just as James says, God, in your word, that from our experiences, from our mistakes, from our sins, we would learn, and every single day we would slowly, one step at a time, just become more and more like you to the world around us. God, I pray that small groups will reflect that and allow us to be vulnerable and authentic. Amen. All right, guys, real quick before you head out, Olivia, before you head out,